Before we dive in, I want your honest take. What matters most to you when a star misses time? Transparent injury updates, visible leadership from the bench, or simply winning games? Tell us in the comments, subscribe for more in-depth WNBA coverage, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our reporting on the Chicago Sky, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, and the league's biggest storylines. The WNBA conversation around Angel Reese has been running hot, and it hasn't cooled with the season. What began as scattered questions about availability and travel quickly turned into a full-blown debate about leadership, communication, and what fans expect from a franchise player in a storm. Social media is awash with claims and counterclaims. Talk shows are amplifying the sharpest angles. In the middle of all that noise sits one reality. When a star sits, the stories write themselves if the team doesn't. Let's slow this down and separate the threads. There are two narratives competing for oxygen. The first is straightforward. Angel Reese has dealt with a back issue, and the Sky have listed her day-to-day around the All-Star break and beyond. Anyone who has had a back problem knows how tricky these injuries can be. Symptoms ebb and flow, your status can look stable in the morning and change by shoot-around. In that sense, day-to-day can be literally true for weeks. The WNBA also doesn't impose the same granular daily injury reporting standards as some other leagues, which means the public gets fewer hard updates. The second narrative is the one doing numbers online. Speculation that Reese checked out, that she skipped travel for rivalry games, that she's missed time late in multiple seasons across different competitions, and that the pattern tells its own story. This is where caution matters. Much of what's being said is driven by clips, screenshots, and frustration, often without official comment from the team or the player. There are no public court filings that confirm talk of lawsuits. There's no signed statement from the club accusing a player of refusing to play. Fans may feel the vibe, but responsible coverage distinguishes what's verified from what's viral. What do we know for certain? Reese has been one of the most visible rookies in the league, a consistent double-double threat and a magnet for media attention. She played through heavy minutes before and after All-Star, then began appearing as day-to-day with a back concern. The Sky, like many WNBA teams, have kept injury details close. There have been games where she's been out and games where she's been in zero dark mode. No elaborate progress reports, no return to play timeline, no practice windows teased. For fans who are used to NBA-style updates, that silence can feel like a vacuum. Now let's talk about optics, because optics are driving most of this. When a star sits, fans expect to see her on the bench, warm-ups on, clip. Board in hand, cheering, huddling, pulling younger players aside. That's the standard in every league, and it's especially visible when the opponent is the Indiana Fever. Those games are the hottest ticket in women's basketball thanks to Caitlin Clark's draw and the way the schedule has pitted her against every market's marquee. If a Sky Fever game comes and goes with Reese out and no visible presence on the bench, the narrative machine roars to life. Where is she? Why isn't she traveling? What's really going on? There are benign explanations. Medical staff sometimes decide that back-to-back travel is counterproductive for a player rehabbing a back. Clubs may prefer a player stay in market for imaging, therapy, and controlled workloads. Those choices are medical, not symbolic. But fans don't see the therapy room, they see the bench. That gap between process and perception is where resentment grows. The comparison that gets thrown around most is Caitlin Clark. Even when managing knocks, Clark has often been visible, on the bench, in timeouts, with a towel on her shoulders, engaged. That's not an indictment of anyone else. It's a reminder of what fans equate with leadership. They want to see a star ride the highs and the lows with the group. For many, presence is a proxy for commitment. The pattern conversation is the sharpest part of this discourse. Fans cite 2 or 3 late-season absences in different contexts and decide the dots should be connected. Again, it's where rumor and memory blur. Reese is a rookie. There is no history of her quitting on the Sky in past WNBA seasons because she wasn't in the league. Unrivaled, the player-run winter competition had its own rhythm and responsibilities. Social chatter about past absences in that event exists, but it hasn't been matched by official documentation detailing reasons. It's fair to ask questions about availability in any league. It's not fair to assert intent without proof. What's beyond dispute? When a franchise's record dips, emotions run high. The Chicago Sky have had hard nights. When losses stack up and your rookie star sits during marquee matchups, the frustration frustration compounds. In that atmosphere, everything gets read through a single lens. A post becomes a verdict. A night off becomes a narrative. Weeks of day-to-day become a conspiracy. That's how fan culture works in 2025. There's also the basketball piece, and it's worth addressing without agenda. Some fans argue the Sky's offense looks freer without a post-centric anchor. They'll point to ball movement, spacing for guards, wings cutting with more purpose. Others will say that a reliable interior scorer and rebounder is what stabilizes sets and ends opponent runs. Both can be true in different games. One of the hazards of the modern debate is that we start slicing on-off splits into grand theories without context. Opponent, rotation changes, foul trouble, a three-point variance. The WNBA is too competitive to reduce belief to anecdotes. What should players and teams do in this climate? Communicate enough to avoid a vacuum. No one expects a HIPAA-violating MRI dump, but there are ways to meet fans halfway. A brief statement from the training staff about status and goals. A clear no travel call made by medical personnel rather than a player. A visible plan for bench presence when appropriate. Those signals reassure a fan base that everyone is pulling in the same direction. From a player branding standpoint, presence is powerful. Even if you can't play, a seat at the end of the bench, a clap during a timeout, a word in a rookie's ear, those moments build trust. They also protect the long-term narrative. Anyone can pull up clips of a star engaged on the sidelines and say, "She's with us." It's a small investment with a huge return. This is also a moment to remember what a back issue is. It's not a bruise. It's an intricate cascade of muscle, disc, and nerve interactions. You can feel fine at rest and seize up in warm-ups. You can look mobile in a hallway and hit a wall 2 possessions into a game. Travel aggravates it. Sitting too long aggravates it. Standing too long aggravates it. The medical staff's job is to weigh short-term optics against long-term risk. Sometimes that means no travel, no bench, no noise. That choice can be right medically and wrong optically. Teams have to manage both. Fans want clarity. They don't need every detail. They need to feel like they aren't being played. When a player is day-to-day for weeks with no additional detail, the benefit of the doubt erodes. The same goes for talk of sustainability from the league office when the product on the floor feels chaotic. The WNBA has spent an entire year fielding questions about officiating consistency and player safety. If a recognizable star is perceived to be taking repeated hard fouls without consistent consequences, fans get frustrated. If coaches are fined for calling it out, they get louder. That context bleeds into every team's micro story. Let's address the Fever Sky rivalry head on. The series has been emotional, physical, and highly publicized. It's the marquee that casual fans circle. When a Sky roster short of full strength faces that draw, the optics are brutal. That doesn't mean a player should play hurt, and it doesn't mean the calendar should dictate medical decisions. It does mean that if you know a rivalry game is coming, communicating status ahead of time helps. The leadership conversation isn't going away, and it's bigger than one player. The WNBA is in the midst of a generational moment. Caitlin Clark has pulled massive audiences. Angel Reese has turned casual fans into devoted followers. Angel Reese's rookie season has included big nights, all-star attention, and a spotlight few first years have handled. Aaliyah Boston, Aja Wilson, Brianna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu, every one of them carries their own local economy of fans and expectations. How they navigate injury, travel, bench presence, and communication will determine how this era is remembered. Being a star in 2025 means doing the basketball and the optics at the same time. What does Chicago need right now? A shared script. If Reese is out, say so in plain language with a short, respectful explanation. If the medical staff believes travel is counterproductive, put that on the staff, not the player. If return to play is still being evaluated, give a date for the next update. Meanwhile, get the cameras on the bench when appropriate. Let fans see huddles and high fives. Remind them that one of the reasons they love this league is the closeness of the athletes to the team and the community. And what does Reese need? To control what she can control. Post a brief message to fans. Thank them for patience. Affirm commitment to the team. Be visible when medically appropriate. Athletes shouldn't have to perform pain for anyone, but they can communicate presence even in absence. In the age of 1,000 narratives, the simplest one usually wins. I'm hurt, I'm here, and I'll be back as soon as I can. There's another layer that deserves mention: mental bandwidth. Losing wears on teams, and it wears harder on the face of a franchise. Every public public appearance becomes a referendum. Every absence becomes a headline. It's fair to expect professionalism from stars. It's also fair to remember they are young, human, and managing pressure most of us will never know. A little grace alongside accountability goes a long way. The Sky, like every team, will be judged on how they handle this stretch. Are they connected? Are they prepared? Do they communicate? Do they protect their players while respecting the fans who invest time and money? The answers to those questions will outlast this week's discourse. If you're a Chicago fan, you're justified in wanting more clarity. If you're Angel Reese, you're justified in trusting your body over the crowd's opinions. If you're the WNBA, you're obligated to keep the focus on basketball by setting standards, officiating, communication, player safety that remove doubt before it metastasizes into rumor. There's one more point we shouldn't lose in the noise. The WNBA's surge this season is real. The talent is deep. The storylines are compelling. The rivalries are real. Protecting that momentum doesn't mean silencing criticism. It means answering it with better processes and better games. That's what fans want. That's what players deserve. Where does this leave the Angel Reese conversation? At a crossroads that's fixable. Clearer updates from the team, bench presence where possible, patience from fans paired with fair expectations, a collective understanding that optics matter, but not more than health. And when she's back, the only story that should matter is the one the scoreboard tells. Your turn. What do you expect from a franchise player when she can't play, travel, bench leadership, social updates, all of the above? And what's the right balance between medical privacy and transparency for fans? Drop your thoughts below. If you want smart, fact-checked coverage of the Chicago Sky, Angel Reese's status, Caitlin Clark's impact, and the WNBA's biggest debates, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We'll keep following the story with context, with care, and with the game at the center.